Hi everyone. Hope you all had a great long weekend. We're going to get started now, kicking off webinar week. So to start us off, we're going to be talking a little bit more about platform security. And now I'm going to pass it over to our host, Eric.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Hi everybody. Good morning. And also just to any of those webinars, we can't attend them during the time. We know we can't accommodate everybody globally, but they will be recorded. We'll share them on our various sources on the web. So stay tuned for, you can always rewatch them at your convenience. So if we just go to the next slide here. And today we're going to be talking about platform security. So in this particular webinar, what we want to kick off the week is actually understanding what that means. So there's a lot of different things that are involved when we say platform security. And so today's session, we're actually going to give you a more in-depth knowledge of how that works, how you can see, what your system is, how secure it's set up for, where to make some those changes, and also some tips as to, check the status of your security. So, security is a big thing. There's a lot of different kinds of security. When we talk about security all the time, you're hearing it even in the news, probably in your workplace, everywhere, even on your personal devices like your smartphones. And the same is true for SmartSimple and the platform itself. So we have security through all various levels of the platform, and it can be a little difficult to navigate. And well, where do I go to access what, or if I want to set up permissions, where's the best place that I can do that? So today is going to be showing you all those little tips and tools of where to find and access the various types of security within the system. Perfect. So some of the benefits of this information is making sure you are making the most of your system security. A lot of features. One of the things we've noticed when we do audits on people's systems is they're just not using a lot of the security features that we have in place, and some of it's just a matter of enabling it, turning things on. Also, you want to use security is important to make sure that the right people see the right information. So if I'm a reviewer, or if I have certain people accessing the system, this is especially true when you're dealing with people's personal data, especially things in government. If you're looking at someone's information, you want to make sure I'm only seeing the information I need to see when I need to see it. Also, just making informed decisions. When you are making security changes, what impact does it have? Who am I going to affect when I change or turn these features or functions on? And like I already mentioned, just to reiterate, just protect the confidentiality and privacy of your constituent information. Perfect. So I'm just going to pop ourselves out of the PowerPoint. Thank you, guys. Those are my words here today. And I'm going to show you a system that we're going to be walking through, and that is just a demo system we have here, which is our SmartSimple Engage. So to start with, actually, one of the, I'm going to log out for a second. And actually, security starts right here before we even log in. Make sure that, we have the ability to present privacy and security policies here on the home page before I even log in. Gives me a chance to review and say, well, when I do log in, what are you going to be doing with my data? So this is pretty important nowadays to have that presented front and center. And SmartSimple also has the ability to link to your existing policies that you have in place. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to recreate the wheel. Most likely you have this somewhere on your website already. We can just provide a link here so that people could be taking to those pages themselves. And I will log in. Perfect. So let's start with, I'm going to go kind of almost like a filter. I think most people who would be using SmartSimple, you're already aware of our security at the field level, but I'm going to kind of take it up and start at the bigger picture here. And we're going to look at the platform security. So I'm going to go to global settings, or I can go to roles and security. Either way will take me there. But I'm going to start with global settings. And just want to outline a few things on this page to assist you with your security settings. So I think the best place to start if you're, listening to this webinar, you want to know even what security is turned on, is actually this link here at the bottom. So we have the System Security Summary. So this will do a audit for you and tell you a lot of the security settings within the system and flag them for you if it's something you should be concerned about, something that you're doing good. And we've categorized them into high, medium, and low, and then some optional security settings. Now, you're probably wondering, it's like, oh my God, how come this is your demo system, why are you failing? Well, that's okay. This is just saying we are, because it is a demo system, we have some things enabled that maybe we wouldn't recommend to turn on, but for the purposes of a demo system, we have them enabled so we can show you things when we're doing presentations like this. So the nice thing about this screen, it will give you, it's pretty easy to read. It tells you there's some base platform items here. Green check mark means good, safe. Red X is bad. Maybe you're going to want to look at it. And then kind of go from there. Like here, we have the alert. So this is bad. So a lot of times with security, as long as you're aware of what you're doing, I think that's the most important thing is the awareness. So for example, like I said, we're failing this because of this one particular line here, password policy. We're not expiring our passwords. We're not using the, now when you see it's quite common when you reset your password, it doesn't just send you your password, you get the email, you got to click the link, validate that it's you, and then you get your password. So as annoying as all those things are, it's actually really important to make sure people aren't impersonating someone else and that the real people are actually getting their passwords. We don't activate that on our demo system because we need to quickly log in. A lot of people use these systems, and we don't want to make it a hassle for us doing a demonstration site. And since this information is all made up anyway, it doesn't really matter as much as if it was your data. But the cool thing here is if you need to access that site and say, well, where is my password policy? I can click on the link here, and it'll take me to the appropriate page where those settings are found. So in this case here, and this, the reason why I'm focusing on this one, I think this is probably one of the easiest settings to fix. And again, when we do our system audits, this is probably the #1 culprit of a failed system security. It's just a password, believe it or not. So in here, you have the choice of choosing password length. Really should be 8 as a minimum if we want to use best practices. Also, you can choose the type of passwords allowed. You really should be using this one, alphanumeric and special characters, okay, and that'll enforce those kind of rules. What you can do, and you're maybe not aware, is also create your custom policy where I can specify, okay, I need 2 uppercase, 5 lowercase, 3 numbers, and 10 symbols, which, I don't think you'll get anyone hugging in your system if you do that, but anyway, you can make your own custom passwords if you like. Now, one of the key things too that we put a few upgrades ago is this toggle here, which I suggest everybody enable if they haven't done so already. And this is restricting the use of common passwords. And these it comes from an open source database of just things like, you can't make your password, or welcome, or hello, or things of that nature. So these are all available to you here. And again, I don't want to turn the webinar into going through every these one by one, but I think that the password policy is pretty important. So it should be something that you do take a look at. And once you're on these screens, there's other things here to help you out in terms of email templates. What does the email say when new people sign up? What happens if I fail logging in? What if I try to log in and I fail 3 times? Maybe you should set up an alert to say, hey, someone's, why is this person keep trying to log in? Who has tried to log in and failed? Well, it looks like I did. Back on the 7th, I had some trouble remembering my password probably. But these are good audits that show you, people trying to log in the system and couldn't. You can even have rules where you can lock people out and say, after so many attempts or after inactivity, we want to remove access and lock the people from the system, as well as maybe disable inactive users. So you can auto deactivate people if they haven't logged in after, let's say, 3 months, 6 months, something like that. So these are all various tools you can use and find through the System Security Summary. So the base level platform, just to talk about security again, are things that affect the entire platform. So these are outside of your particular UTAs. These are system-wide, and they're listed as base platform functionality. Okay. We can go deeper here, and then the system goes module by module, UTA by UTA, and it's going to say, oh, in this module, here are the security settings, and it looks like we're doing okay in our UTAs. We've specified everything that we need to, and we do have good security in place. So outside of the global settings, okay, so I have global settings. I just went down here to the summary, but we also have a particular tab here called security. These are all system-wide security things that will affect every part of the system, okay. If I go here, password policies, that's where I jumped to from the audit. It was a nice, easy way of getting there, but I could just come here through the security tab. One thing that people may not know, and things that we would just automatically use during an implementation, is a security matrix on organizations and roles. So this says, well, what kind of data can I see, as a staff person? So as a staff person, I have access to all organizations. I can edit all of them. I can add new organizations. I can look up any organization across all categories. If I'm a organization contact, so I'm the grantee, well, this is going to be very different. I have permissions to view, edit, and look up only my own organization. I can't see things outside of my own company information. Whereas maybe an employee, we have this is a system set up to do volunteering. Well, I can look at all organizations, but I can only edit my own organization. I can't change anything there. And we're also restricting what kind of organizations they can see through the use of categories. Think of them as roles for organizations. And in this case, I can only see my branches because I'm an employee. I can see my internal structure, but I can only see organizations flagged as causes because I'm an employee. I can do volunteer, make donations, so I can only see or look up those organizations there. However, I'm not allowed to make changes or edit them. So this is very handy in terms of getting very granular with how you want to handle things like people and how they interact with organizations in the system. And also want to talk about these two links here, system features and system visibility. System features is a section that allows you as administrators to permission various tools or actions within the platform. So again, these are platform level features. Can I batch update? Can I see a reader log? Can I save draft? These are all features that are kind of globally set throughout the system permissions. Here's some action permissions. Can I create a calendar? Can I view notes only? Am I allowed to do certain things? So you'll see that it doesn't really talk about particular functions that you would find in your UTAs because these are just generic global things throughout the system. Here's a common one. Can I create a public filter or template? So if I run a search, am I able to make a search, save it, and then share it with my coworkers? Feature permissions, these are just turning things on. Am I allowed to use the recent list? Can I access discussion board app? Can I, emulate? Can I use the emulation mode? These are all things that are set here at the high level global permission stage. Okay. And down here, there's some things that they should all be turned on by default. You can, if they're not, you can always call us and let us know. We can walk you through what's going on there. Down here under system security, now these are how the system interacts just on the web. So these are things that are more true security from an infrastructure point of view. So things that work on the internet versus things that are SmartSimple specific. Enable parameter encryption. What does that mean? It just means that when you see links up here in the top, it's going to encrypt the values so you can't see things like the ID numbers and things of that nature. You can disable session, like some of them you don't want to disable. You notice a lot of these are to turn things off. They shouldn't be turned off because they should be on. You should want these things to be there. CAPTCHA settings are here as well. They're very important also. So for a lot of these things, if you have some questions and you want to know what they do, please contact us after the webinar and we can go into more detail of how they work for you. But outside of the system security, we get into the individual security within the UTAs or modules. To do that, we would go to our UTA first. If you are an administrator, you can go to configuration settings. And from here, again, we have our own little security tab. The most important thing through here is going to be these two, who can access the module, okay, and who has administrator access to the module. We haven't defined what they can see or do yet. It just means these people can know it's there or use it. In the security matrix, now we're getting more granular. So we can see, well, what can I do with the data inside this module? So here we go, back to our employee example. I can add a new record, which is fine. Most people can add things. But I can only view or edit records that I own. So that means that I'm set as the owner. I created the record, so I can modify my own stuff. If I look at the executive staff here, I can only view or edit records that I've either created myself or have been affiliated with through my organization. If it's not my organization, then I can't even see or know that that record is there. Whereas grant staff, well, guess what? I need to work in the system. That's the reason why you're using SmartSimple, so I can view, edit, add all records. Okay, and these are on a level-by-level basis. So in this particular module, we're using all three levels, and we have security matrix for level 1s, level 2s, and level 3s, and they're all labeled according to your language that you're using within the system. Okay, and from here, after we've left these, and we also have, before I move away, we also have functions, permissions here within the module itself, but instead of being platform-wide, this is just for this module. So can I batch update in the request manager? Can I see field history in the request manager, and so on. One thing I want to point out too that's not quite common, but is we're getting now into the field level permissions. So I'm going to come back to the field permission matrix, but if I go into, let's say, the level 1 here, the grants, and I go into custom fields, and then I pick my field to edit it, this is probably what everyone's mostly familiar with, is the permissions and availability. And this is now, we're talking about security right down at the field level. Who can see this field? Who can modify the field? When can they modify and see the field? And for which type of record can they see or modify the field? And if there's something that you need to permission outside of those rules, you can also create a custom logic here to say, well, only, this situation will allow this field to be visible. If we go back, I just want to talk a little bit about the field permission matrix. And what that allows you to do is set globally defined or module defined permissions on a role-by-role basis, okay, on a field-by-field. So in here, it allows us to say, well, at this status, I want these roles to have certain edit and view permissions going by field. So this allows you to get really granular at the field level. A lot of times it could be a bit overkill for what you need, but sometimes you have very specific use cases where the traditional permissions and availability tab doesn't work, but this is also an option that we have here that's available to people to use. So with that, I think we're just about at time, or what we'd like to do with our new format here. And I guess I will turn it over for questions.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, there you go. We have our first question over here. Okay, so by using the system security summary, how many of the problematic cases are allowed to remain unresolved to earn what we call a passing security rating?
Yeah, great question. 0. You can have 0 high. So you can't have, if you have any high flags, then it will cause a fail. But like I said, a lot of people, in my conversations, just to be clear, they've come and they're like, Eric, oh my God, I failed the security summary. I feel really bad. People feel they don't like seeing the fail there. But a lot of times it's just, you know, being aware of it. So I think the awareness is the key, and kind of accepting that awareness. Like I said, with the password policy. In our case, it's like, yeah, of course, it is a weak password policy, and we should enable those things. But for this use case, in our demo system, that's okay, and we're okay to live with the fail because it's a conscious choice that we made to do that. You know, same thing. One thing that all our clients will get, and this is a very, I mean, it's a low severity, but it will get flagged. It won't fail you, but it's low. But like, look at this list. This is showing you all the people that have like SmartSimple.com email addresses that can still log into your system. Again, it's okay. This is our site, and we should have access to this. But from a client perspective, really the only person that should be accessing your account is the support at SmartSimple.com, and that won't flag this. But maybe your project team still has users in there. Typically, we will remove them, but that's also, again, maybe it's okay because it's easier for me to have my own username to log into your system because I'm your dedicated support rep, and it just makes it easier. That's okay. Again, it's just being aware and knowing that this exists. The worst part would be is, oh, I didn't know these SmartSimple people could access the system. Well, they can, and if it's okay, then that's fine. Just, again, being aware of
like having just an explanation for everything.
That's it.
Okay, I think we have another question over here.
Okay, so how often should you be checking, auditing your system security?
I mean, I think it's a regular thing you should do, probably as often as you do any other audit. You know, we do annual audits here at SmartSimple with our SOC, you know, SOC 2 and things like that. It's a good idea to, I'd say there's a minimum once a year. Maybe after any big changes would be good. Maybe get into a habit. We've changed our upgrades to 3 times a year. Maybe 3 times a year would be good because a lot of, you know, if we add new features, you enable a new function, hey, let's do a quick check because I'm now using something new. Let's just make sure we're still in good standing with our security.
That's awesome.
Our next question is, if you change the password parameters, like the number of characters, now will people have problem accessing the system?
They will. So when you change sorry, let me backstep that. Only when they change the password. So if my password, whatever my password is, it is. But the system, if you enforce, let's say, a strong password now, it won't. You're okay until you go to change it. So if you click forgot password or you manually change your password, then it will enforce those rules. But it's not going to affect the passwords that are existing. However, if you really want to be secure about it and change your security password settings, then we have a very fancy button right here that forces all users to change their password on the next login. So just, yeah, if you've ever, don't click that button unless you really want to do it, because what it will do is it expires everybody's password immediately, and the next time they try to log in, it's going to force them to pick a new password, which will enforce the new password policy. But again, that's a good thing. If you aren't using a secure password, you want to enforce a secure password, that may be a good option.
I mean, it's the fastest way to go around about it, right?
Yeah.
I think we have another question here.
Sure.
Can you emulate into different users to check the security settings, to check that the security settings are correct?
You can, yeah, you could, yes. So if I understand the question correctly, I think you can, when you're emulating a person, you can walk through and see what they can see. So yeah, emulation mode is the best way to check, to make sure, let's say an applicant and I'm logged in, you know, looking at what do I have access to, what don't I have access to. It's always a good way if you're making changes, especially to portals or things like that. Try emulating the user and seeing what they can see when they log in and make sure that they don't have access to something inadvertent. And remember, one big thing, everyone, with security, hiding something is not security. I can't stress that enough. A lot of times people will be like, oh, well, you know what, I'm going to not show them that shortcut or that menu item. That is not security. that just means you're hiding the button. If I find the link to that shortcut, if I find the link or somehow get access to that screen, then I have full access. That's not security by just hiding a button or removing it. You need to explicitly say, I am denying access to this thing. That's real security. If you just say, oh, well, I didn't put it on their portal, so they don't have access, well, yeah, that's fine. But if I did somehow get access to that part of the system, then I have full access. You're not actually blocking me, you just hid it from my view, and that is not security.
Okay. I think we have room for one more question. Oh, there you go.
This one just came. So in our HRIS UTA, all staff have their own benefit portal. All staff can see their own level 1, but would want executive staff to see certain activities from their direct reports. How do I do this without having executive staff see their direct report L1s from the L1 UTA shortcut on the activity? Can we switch off the L1 shortcut per UTA?
Yeah, so I think you could do it through a, so in that case, if you want them, so each employee, if I understand it right, has their own level 1 and their own activities, but you want the executive staff to be able to see maybe some of those activities without access to level 1. So there's other ways you could, the security matrix is probably, you want to make sure that is set appropriately. You can also control permissions like that using the global settings and the organization security matrix to see if I'm in the right. So if it's internal, you can set up branches or maybe groups. Sometimes categories or internal hierarchy, let me go here for a second, can be set up as organizational structures versus physical locations. So in our sample here, we have our root organization. Think of it as like head office, and then down here we have all the locations throughout the U.S., right? But what a lot of people do, instead of doing physical locations, they create a hierarchy here as the organizational structure. So maybe I have, my foundation is top level, and then maybe I have executive staff. Then maybe I have staff, or maybe I have departments, IT, support, finance. And then if you put the people in the appropriate branches, you can then use a combination of the security matrix in the UTA, as well as the global settings security matrix to permission it so that, how I can see information, if that makes sense. But that's a very good question, very detailed question. I'd be happy to take that offline to look at your specific settings in your system to go through that in more detail.
Okay, last question for the day.
Before making changes to the failed security items, is it best to send a ticket before making changes?
Always. Yeah. I would always check. If you're unsure, just check. And actually, that is a great conversation, guys, to have for our new platform solutions team. These are the questions. That's why we set up this team. It's to handle these kind of questions. So have a chat first. Give us a call. Let's talk about your security, what you're trying to do. And then once we have that conversation, then you can turn around and say, okay, now I know what I want to do. Now I'm going to call support and have them execute the changes. Oh, okay, yeah. And you can be very clear then when you make a ticket and say, I need to change these 3 areas, can, set them here, 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 here. But yeah, definitely let's have a chat first and discuss, what you're trying to do and what's the best practices.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for today. So this is the first webinar that we have for Webinar Week. And Eric, I think the purpose of restructuring this webinar is we want to showcase more features that we have available. But I know people will want to go in more in depth because everyone has some different systems.
They do.
And the best way to go in more detail is to contact us at businesssolutions@smartsimple.com.
Yeah, so like you said, if you have any more questions, please, we'd love to hear from you. Just email us, and there will be a recording sent out after
In a week.
Thank you all for attending, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone.